Welcome to the Early Warning Systems training series. This video is prepared by staff at the Everyone Graduates Center based at Johns Hopkins University in partnership with the New Mexico Department of Education and the High Plains Regional Educational Cooperative. The videos and breakout activities are designed to help your school team implement the planning, design, and problem solving for the implementation of an early warning system. We recommend that you watch and complete these activities with a representative team from your school that will be leading the implementation of your early warning system. The training videos will share background information and set up activities for you to complete with your team and a designated facilitator within your group. Before you start, make sure you've downloaded this video's supplemental materials from the video webpage. Creating an early warning system team at your school will be an important step in your implementation process. This EWS team could be the same team that you have assembled to work through these videos, but it may also include more individuals as you examine the scope of the challenge you are addressing. First, no matter the makeup of your EWS team, the principal must own and lead the effort so that EWS is a part of your school's framework and vision. If your principal isn't part of the team that is working through these trainings, you should plan to set up a meeting to discuss these components and how they fit within your school's current plans. When thinking about the team that will drive the day-to-day work, you should consider the level of the challenge that you are facing. Use the on and off track metrics described in the previous video to help in this process. With a small number of students, you may be able to manage the response with a smaller number of staff members. However, as the size of the challenge increases, it is important to engage a larger number of your staff to ensure that keeping students on track is part of the work of all staff members. In larger schools, it will require all adults to be a part of the work. At this level, it often includes interdisciplinary, grade-level teams, or small learning communities integrating EWI data analysis and response as a part of their regular work. The EWS team's work covers a few key responsibilities. First, the team should keep a focused list of students who have off-track indicators and may need additional support. As we've discussed in the previous video, this list should be updated at least monthly, if possible more frequently, and include which indicators each student has. Second, the team should meet regularly, at least every 2 weeks if possible, for two key tasks. First, the team should build on student strengths and determine the supports needed for that student or group of students. This is often called an EWI meeting, and is designed as a way to determine the most appropriate interventions for students. EWI meetings will be discussed later within this video. The second is that the team should build on data trends that they identify, and design, create, and implement preventative measures or initiatives that help more students attain high achievement in the ABCs. Many of these initiatives are aimed at creating a culture of high achievement, clear expectations, and recognition for success. Analyzing ABC data will need to be completed at both the student level, as we will discuss in the EWI meetings section later in this video, as well as at the grade and whole school level. The goal of this data analysis is not only to identify students who are showing signs of disengagement, but also to be able to examine deeper trends or background that help your team make decisions, and may highlight underlying issues that need to be addressed across the entire school.
A critical thing for us to do is to really understand who's walking through the door of our school. Who's walking through the door in 6th grade, who's walking through the door in 9th grade, who's walking through the door in 1st grade. What challenges do they bring so we can figure out and ask ourselves, are we organized to meet those challenges? Because as we know, each class is not the same, things change, and we have to be prepared each year for what the new challenge is. To do this, schools need to ask themselves 3 questions about the students walking in their door. What's our academic challenge? How many of the students walking through the door are multiple years behind grade level in math or English or other subjects? And in what specific areas are they struggling? We might know that the kids are below basic, but knowing they're below basic doesn't quite give us enough information to know the scale and magnitude of their need. We need more fine-grained information about how many kids are behind and in what way. We also need to know the engagement challenge. How many kids are walking in our door that have prior histories of chronic absenteeism, or prior histories of getting in trouble, or prior histories of course failure? Who's going to be coming in already with problems that haven't been solved, and maybe with dysfunctional responses to those problems that are making things worse? If we know we're getting a lot of kids with prior history of chronic absenteeism, we need to have a big upfront attendance campaign from day one that says, this is a new, exciting place to be. It's the place where everybody comes every day. We're going to miss you if you're not. And very rapidly start, calling kids. If they aren't there, can we get you here by 10 o'clock? We miss you. To have a very strong new culture and new climate to sort of turn those prior behaviors around. Finally, we have to understand the poverty challenge. and not just how many free and reduced price lunch kits we have. That actually gives us very limited information, because you can get free and reduced price lunches at quite a wide range of family circumstances. Really what we need to have a deeper understanding of is how many of our students are agency involved, how many are in foster care, how many had prior engagement with the juvenile justice system, how many are homeless. All these things we found in research is once you understand the depth of agency involvement, that gives you a much clearer understanding of the magnitude of student needs and the impacts of poverty than just free lunch data. And basically, if you're a school, for example, that serves a lot of foster care kids, you're going to need a very different parental engagement strategy than a school that has very few foster care kids. So if we know our challenges, the academic challenges, the engagement challenges, the poverty challenges, we're in a much better place to design our supports and our responses to that than just assuming what we've done forever is what's still what we need to do, or we just have one strategy and keep doing it year in, year out, and not recognizing that the circumstances of our community and our kids may have changed, our challenges may have changed and evolved, and we're not organized now to meet the reality we face.
Now, let's pause the video for 3 to 5 minutes to discuss which of these challenges is most prevalent for your school. Knowing some of the underlying challenges that you are facing will help you as you begin to analyze and examine ABC data. As you begin this process, there are 3 areas that we want to highlight within this series. The first is examining student level growth or decline over time. As you notice in this student's profile, there is 1 area, behavior, where we are seeing growth from last year to this year, and 3 areas where we are seeing declines in performance. Secondly, we have found it helpful to examine any relationship between different indicators. This is when pairing this data with staff members' knowledge of the students will be especially important. For instance, this student's attendance has declined drastically, and grades have declined as well. The team might question whether these 2 items are related. Lastly, there may be information that is not immediately visible on the ABC report. For the student whose data is showing, the ABC report is now paired with responses from a resiliency survey. If looking only at behavior and course performance, this student is looking very strong. But if you examine the attendance and the resiliency survey, you will notice that there are warning signs in a student's connections, their stress level, and their overall well-being. These may help the team identify earlier, as well as think differently about their response. Now, we're going to spend a few minutes examining sample data. Using the sample class data example in your viewer's guide, pause the video for 4 to 6 minutes and respond to these 2 questions. First, what patterns, trends, or other areas do you notice in the data you are examining? Second, if these were students in your school, how would you respond? What interventions, supports, initiatives, or activities would you use? There are a few things that you may have noticed as you examine the class of students. There are still the same basic questions that we want to answer around growth and progress, relationships, and underlying information. In addition, it is valuable to look at trends across students that may lend themselves to a much different response. For instance, you may have noticed that there are a large number of students who are failing science. While the flags for each of those students draw our attention, the most appropriate response for this situation might be support for the teacher in the organization of his or her class and how he or she is engaging students. Or there may be something more appropriately tackled across a group of students, something that they are all struggling with. The analysis of ABC data across students will help your team determine the most effective level of intervention and the best use of the interventions, initiatives, and supports that you have available. Remember, as you work through your data analysis, that you must be looking for opportunities for intervention, as well as opportunities for prevention and adult-focused strategies. Good interventions are essential, but we cannot intervene our way to a stronger support system. While there are many places where this analysis of ABC data will occur, the Early Warning Indicator, or EWI meeting, is the most effective forum where multiple adults who work with a student meet to discuss the student's data and determine appropriate responses. This regular student-level examination and response provides opportunities for designing new interventions, reflection, check-in, and adjustments. This team may be what some schools have previously called a student support team. These teams are usually made up of mostly non-teaching staff whose primary responsibilities involve direct student support. However, in larger schools, there are often multiple EWI meetings that occur, with interdisciplinary or grade-level teams making them part of their regular agenda. Now, we are going to observe a mock EWI meeting conversation. While watching the video, you should keep these two key questions in mind. 1. What do you notice about the structure of the conversation? And 2. What do you notice about the tools, note-taking, and resources that are used in the conversation? You can also use the supplemental tool as part of your video discussion guide to help organize your thoughts and discussions. Let's explore what the EWI meeting looks like when all of the pieces are implemented. Alright, so the next student we want to discuss is Adrian, and Adrian is actually flagged for two different indicators. The first one is for behavior, has four behavior referrals during the month of September, and also was suspended yesterday. The second indicator is currently getting an F in English Language Arts. So those are the two indicators of why we're discussing, and then I'll share the rest of the data profile as you can see on the board. So doing fine in attendance, no days absent so far this year, pretty good attendance last year. Behavior did not seem to be an issue last year, only 2 referrals for the full school year. In course performance, had an A at the end of last year in math, getting a high B so far this year, and was basic on the state assessment. In ELA, like I mentioned, getting an F at a 53% in ELA so far this year, and had a C at the end of last year and basic in ELA for the state assessment as well. So again, we'll start with updates for Adrian. Let's start with social studies again.
So Adrian, she is a stellar student in my class. I don't have any problems out of her. She has excellent behavior in my class, and she's really interested in geography, working with math, so that I guess she kind of found her niche in my class, but she's actually one of my better students.
How about ELA?
ELA is a problem. That's where she's failing so far, although she's attempting to complete the work, and her attendance really isn't bad. Her attendance isn't where her problems lie. She attempts the assignments but hands in incomplete work. She seems to be having difficulty with material. I've asked her to come back for coach class, but so far in the last 4 weeks she hasn't come back at all. I think there may be some things that I could work with her individually on that there really isn't time for in class, and she's not forthcoming. She won't come up to the desk with a problem, I think because there are other people in the room. But she also won't come after school, which I would think would be a good opportunity for her to look at her work and in a more honest way.
And math?
So in math, it's kind of interesting. She's pretty smart in math, and that might be a little dilemma because I think she's trying to rely on her skills from middle school, because she's not really paying much attention, and she's kind of distracting in class. She gets it quickly and wants to finish her assignment quickly, but doesn't really want to engage in the lesson or the topics and the discussions we have. She just wants to wrap it up and move on. So I made a phone call home about that and talked to the mom, and the mom said, yeah, she's pretty excited about different things in high school. She's just, there's just a different thing going on there. She's not as tuned to school as much, and she seems, at least from my discussion with her, mom's noticed a similar thing. So.
All right, other updates for Adrian?
I got a note from the vice principal yesterday that there was some issue at lunch, but I didn't have an opportunity to talk with her before whatever this was ended in the suspension. My hope is to catch her and the parent when they come in for this reentry conference after the suspension and see kind of what's going on.
Anything else for Israel?
No, I've just noticed that she's been struggling in the LA, and so I just know that I need to make a better effort to work with her assignments, because it does seem apparent that she needs that extra attention. for her assignments, and if she's not coming back for coach class, then at least I can help her out during class.
So I know we started talking about some of the interventions for Adrian, but wanted to move us forward to what has we've been working on towards new interventions that we need to address for Adrian.
So Adrian works really well in my class, and I think one of the reasons why she works really well in my class is because she likes working with projects. So what I was thinking is that maybe we all could get together and come up with some type of an interdisciplinary project that she can be really involved with, because she likes doing a lot of research on the computer, and she likes actually designing things so that there's an end product. So that might be a good idea. That might actually work for her.
Very good idea.
Are there other teachers okay with that or interested in that?
I think that would work well. She might finish quickly with the assignment we have. It might give her something to do for the rest of the period, and I'd like to try that. That would be a good thing to see.
And ELA?
I'm going to make more of an effort to see her individually. Just expecting her to come back to my class isn't working. I'll give Mom a call because the transition from middle school to high school seems to be a very difficult one for her. She wasn't the greatest student in middle school, but she's dropped 2 full grades since the end of last year. And it may just be the material, because she's evidently doing well in other classes, but there may be other things involved also. There may be some kids in her 9th grade English class that aren't in her math class or her history class that are, so the issues may not be just not finishing the work, because she does try to do the work, she's just, her mind seems to be somewhere else.
So just back on the interdisciplinary project, does someone want to be a point person for that, or can someone be kind of a point person to pull all the teachers from our team together for that?
Yeah, sure. Since it was my idea, I'll do it.
Okay. So we can put you down for that, Mr. Rhodes. Okay, so we have a couple of things. Mr. Schwab is going to check in with Mom. Mr. Rhodes is kind of head up that interdisciplinary project among all of the teachers. Anything else that we need to do?
I'm going to process with the student when she comes back from suspension. I need to check with the vice principal to see when she's due back. I know that's typically like a 3-day suspension. So let me check and see when she's coming back, and I'll try to sit in on the readmit conference and then process with the student to kind of see what this conflict is with her and Sarah.
Okay, and Ms. Walker, after you do that, can you, or whatever you are able to share, can you share that back with us as our team, so we know what else we can do to support that?
Sure. And you said that are they in your class together? Sarah and Adrian?
No, Sarah isn't, but they go to lunch.
They have the same lunch period. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so just quickly to review, Mr. Rhodes is going to kind of take the lead on the interdisciplinary project and touch base with all the teachers as part of our team. Mr. Schwab is going to check in with Mom just to see if there's anything glaring that we need to be aware of. And Ms. Walker will check in with the AP during reinstatement and see what else we need to, next steps there. When do we want to follow up on these items? Our next meeting, or are some of them okay to wait a little bit longer? What's our timeline?
I think we should wait a little bit longer for this, well, at least for the interdisciplinary project, because it is going to take some time to kind of develop it and then to get it started.
Okay.
I could at least provide the team an update in regards to the readmit conference and the processing in regards to her personal issues with Sarah. I can follow up with the team the next time we meet.
And I'll probably have something to share with the team after I talk to her mother tonight.
Okay. So I'll say October 10th at our next meeting, we'll do follow up on those 2 items, and then we'll wait, so it'll be a little bit longer. At least 2 meetings out for our interdisciplinary project. Okay. So you guys have a chance to get started on that. Okay, anything else on Adrian before we move to the next student? The discussion that you just watched followed the general protocol for discussion. In the video, this discussion lasted about 7.5 minutes and resulted in 3 interventions for Adrian. The setup for this discussion to occur took some preparation to ensure that data was in place, the right individuals were at the table, and there was a shared goal for the work. The team also had a very clear process for documenting the interventions that they had decided on. For schools that don't have access to a state or district system that helps them to track this information, often Microsoft Excel or Access documents have been created. Some schools have also explored using available sharing tools such as network folders, Google Drive, or Dropbox. This information is helpful for follow-up in the next meeting and also helps with overall trend analysis during the year. We recommend that you try using this protocol as a group with a student that you all know. In the video, one individual played the role of facilitator and note-taker, but you could assign these to different individuals in your team for your practice round. As you complete this section, and before you begin the final videos in this series, we recommend that your team, if you haven't already, begins to identify next steps for each of the key tasks discussed throughout. The main topics that we have discussed are organizing data, creating focus lists, resource mapping, tracking interventions, the EWS team, and lastly, EWI meetings. There are materials in your viewer's guide to help guide your conversation. This concludes our video on school planning for early warning systems. In our third and last group of videos, we will explore lessons learned and ideas for providing awareness, training, and deepening EWS implementation.